From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. Starting off overseas with an update, Red Cross vehicles have arrived in the central Gaza town of Nuseirat for a further release of Israeli hostages. Earlier in the day, Hamas had freed the first 2 of 6 Israelis, due to be released today under the fragile ceasefire deal that has paused more than 15 months of fighting. Back home now, where former MP Ruby Dhalla has been disqualified from the Liberal leadership race after the party's vote committee said she had violated multiple rules. Party National Director Azam Ismail says the decision was made unanimously by a joint sitting of both the vote and expense committees. They say Dhalla was in breach of 10 violations of the national leadership rules, leadership vote rules, and the leadership expense rules. The clock is ticking down to next Thursday's vote in Ontario. The Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford will be stumping in Thunder Bay, Iroquois Falls, and Timmins today. NDP leader Marit Stiles is making stops in Toronto and Kingston before holding an event in the evening in Ottawa. Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie will be out canvassing several Toronto ridings, while Green Party leader Mike Schreiner campaigns in the Kitchener area. Ukrainians in an Albertan town east of Edmonton say they're hurt by U.S. President Donald Trump's comments about the war in Ukraine. Trump has called Ukraine's president a dictator and blamed Ukraine for starting the war. Yulia Kalutska, who fled Ukraine after the Russian invasion and settled in Vergaville, says it's hard not to watch the news, but it's even harder to watch it. Vegreville is known for its giant Ukrainian Easter egg and has sponsored at least 125 people fleeing the war. As for Ukraine itself, it has witnessed their hope of a favorable and lasting peace dwindle in a matter of days. As the country approaches the 3-year mark of Russia's full-scale invasion, Kyiv's staunch support from the U.S. appears to be in jeopardy. Observers note that following Donald Trump's lengthy phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin last week, years of American policy was undone. They say Trump has begun parroting Putin's talking points and describing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, as mentioned earlier, as a dictator. Police in Winnipeg are warning about a new form of fentanyl that has appeared in the city. They say the fentanyl in question has been packaged to look like cutout cookies, colorful candles, soaps, and confections. Anyone who sees similar items is being warned to not touch them and to report them to police non-emergency lines. And finally, the 31st Screen Actors Guild Awards should offer the final clue to this year's hard-to-call Oscars race.
This is a room full of actors.
Before Hollywood goes for Oscars gold next week, the Screen Actors Guild Awards take place this Sunday. Among the lineup of presenters, Timothée Chalamet, Harrison Ford, and Jamie Lee Curtis, with Julia Louis-Dreyfus presenting the Life Achievement Award to Jane Fonda. Kristen Bell hosts the show, which will stream on Netflix. Alex Stone, EBC News.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, let's start with the NBA and the Toronto Raptors. Well, the Raps were back in action after the All-Star break with a 121-111 overtime loss at the hands of Tyler Hero and the Miami Heat. And for those wondering, Brandon Ingram, Toronto's big trade deadline acquisition, is still out with a left ankle sprain and no timeline for his Raptors debut. Elsewhere around the league, Memphis, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit, Dallas, Houston, Oklahoma City, and Golden State all posted wins. Over to the MLB, where spring training has begun, and the Toronto Blue Jays have signed left-handed pitcher Ryan Yarbrough to a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. The 33-year-old posted a 2.01 earned run average in 12 games with the Blue Jays last season. Toronto opens its spring training schedule against the New York Yankees in Dunedin, Florida, later today. Also ahead for today, a semifinals matchup at the Canadian Women's Curling Championship will feature defending champion Rachel Homan taking on 4-time Scotties winner Carrie Einerson. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.